today for our first live that we've done on Facebook. So I'm a hypnotherapist at BCS, and shortly I'll be joined by Toby Messer, who is a counsellor, and he's also the director of the company. So we'll be having a little chat about BCS, what that is, about hypnotherapy, and about counselling, and how it can help you. I'll just explain a little bit about the purpose of why we're doing this Facebook Live. And what we're hoping to do is to do more of these because we really want to demystify what counselling and hypnotherapy is and how it can help. Because at the moment, a lot of people are going through a really difficult time. I think all of us are, just because everything's so unusual. It's a very odd time that we're going through. And I think it's okay to not be okay sometimes when we're going through these things. I think it's okay to mention that. But that as counsellors, hypnotherapists, and other therapists, we are here to help, and we're here to make it easier, not to wave a magic wand and make your problems disappear overnight, but certainly to work with you to help you feel better about the situation that we're in, and to explore ways that you can feel better. So it'd be good to start just talking a little bit about what is hypnotherapy. I know we're going to have a chat with Toby, and he'll talk about counselling in a few minutes' time. So I'm a hypnotherapist, and there's a series of questions that I'm always asked, which I bring up time and time again when I've done these little videos and things in the past. But I think you can tell I'm not wearing a sparkly waistcoat, not today anyway. I don't have a swinging pocket watch. I won't make you look like a chicken or anything like that. And that's a lot of the time the impression that many people have of hypnotherapy, when actually it's a wonderful way of working. Well, I love it because I do it, and it really can help a lot of things. At the moment, seeing and hearing from a lot of people who are dealing with stress because of this current situation. As I say, it is okay not to be okay for a while, and then we can work through it and get you back to the real you we'll be having. So what happens in a hypnotherapy session? Well, in the first session, it'll be a chance for us to get together and have a chat. We'll talk a bit about what brought you to see me, and then we'll have a talk about how the brain works and how I, as a hypnotherapist, could help. If you'd like to find out some more about hypnotherapy without booking a session, then all you need to do is to give us a call or send an email to contact@bcscounselling.com, or you can give us a ring, 01446 677 600, and you'll be able to speak to Gemma, who she looks after us in the best possible way. She's the practice manager, and she'll direct you to whoever you'd like to speak to in the team. As I say, there's 3 therapists at the moment who work with BCS. So there's Toby, who'll be joining us shortly, fingers crossed. He's the director, and he's a counsellor, so he'll be able to talk a bit more about that in a little while. Katrina is a counsellor, very experienced and wonderful. Just a wonderful person, full stop. I know she is listening. Back to hypnotherapy. So in a hypnotherapy session, in the first session, as I say, we'd have a chance to have a chat about you, about the challenge that's brought you to see me, and then I'll explain a bit about how the brain works, why it maybe makes us feel anxious or depressed or angry sometimes, and we'll be able to sort of look at how why you feel like that, and then what we can do about it. In a regular session, then we would get together. So it depends how often you'd like to meet. Usually it will be weekly, but sometimes it's every month or every 2 weeks. It's very much up to you as to how you'd like it to go. And then in a regular session, we'd sit down, we'd have a chat. For the first part of the session, I'd ask you all sorts of different questions. And although I've been trained in a lot of different forms and styles of hypnotherapy, I've explored quite a bit. The style that I use primarily is something called solution-focused hypnotherapy, and solution-focused hypnotherapy is a very positive way of working. It's a way of working that will talk about the problems, but will concentrate on what you're already doing to beat that problem, that challenge, that issue, and where you'd like to get to. So it's a very forward-looking way of working. as I say, it's not that we ignore the problems completely, but that's not the main focus of what, as a solution-focused hypnotherapist, we do. So we spend the first part of the session talking like that in a very positive way. In the second half of the session, this is the bit that people often worry about, is the hypno bit. I've already said I don't have a swinging watch or a sparkly waistcoat. There's none of the look into my eyes. I can do that if you'd like me to, but that's not the way that we do it. Generally, I'll talk to you. It's a bit like being told a story when you were little, and you can just relax wonderfully. And when I know that you're in a wonderfully relaxed state, then we'll work on what it is that you want to work on. Now, Nikki, you sent us a message. Thank you very much for the question. So what can hypnotherapy do that counselling can't? Now, I think it's more a case of the way that we do things rather than what we do. So hypnotherapy just works maybe in a slightly different way. We share a lot of the same elements. Basically, we want to help, and we help in slightly different ways. So in hypnotherapy, we use a little bit of talking therapy at the start. Something called solution-focused brief therapy is the basis of solution-focused hypnotherapy. I can talk more about that maybe another time. And it works in a slightly different way, I think. When Toby comes on, we can maybe have a discussion about that, if that's okay. But I would say sort of the short answer is that it's not that hypnotherapy can do something that counselling can't. It's just that for all of us, we respond in different ways to different ways of help and different support. And so you may find that if you go to see a hypnotherapist, then you might get something different from that something will click and it'll make the big change for you. And equally, there's some people who come to see hypnotherapists who would prefer to go and see a counsellor. So it's just the way that we work is different. What we ultimately want to do is the same. At the moment, we're doing online sessions, both the counselling side and the hypnotherapy side of BCS. And it's often people are a little worried about going online to have a session. So we use something called Zoom, and you may have seen that in the news recently. It's actually a very safe platform. It's encrypted. They've done a lot of work. Certainly, it was very safe already, but they've done a lot of work since lockdown began to improve the security. So you're very safe. In an online hypnotherapy session, it would work kind of in the same way. I'd talk to you a bit like this. You could respond, of course, and then we would do the hypnotherapy part in a sort of similar way to the way that we do it in person. What would happen is I would send you, I tend to use music as a background. It's just a nice sort of bed, helps us to relax, lovely relaxing music. And I'd send that to you, you'd play that at your end, and I'd talk over the internet. And that's just because the music sounds smoother. If there's any glitches in the sound, it's less noticeable with my voice and that sort of thing. And so that's the way that it would work online. And it works really well, really effectively. In fact, I know there's no difference in outcome from clients that I've worked with in the past, from doing it online to doing it in person. And some people feel happier doing it in their own home. Some people feel more relaxed and more comfortable, but equally others prefer to come down to the office and to have a chat in person, which is equally fine. Again, it's finding the right way for you, what works for you. And one of the questions that I'm often asked is, or one of the concerns that people have is about being out of control, is about when you're under hypnosis, about being made to do something stupid or to give out some information that you don't want to give out, or that sort of thing. And I would say that you're never out of control. You're always in control. It's a bit like, I've just seen Toby the man. It's a bit like being in a daydream. So if you're daydreaming, you know exactly where you are, but you relax wonderfully. Toby,
John,
hello. So let's dive in. Maybe because I've mentioned BCS quite a few times now. BCS Mental Health Service. That's who we are. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about what BCS is, where it came from, what the idea is behind it, and yeah, and where we are now and what the plans are for the future.
Big question. Big question. You can't hear that, but so BCS started 2015 under a different name called Affinity Wales Hypnotherapy, because I first qualified as a hypnotherapist many moons ago now. And it grew. So I stayed in university. I continued to do my counselling diplomas and degrees, and kept driving and pushing Affinity forward. It then moved, and we renamed the service Barry Counselling Service, because we were in sunny Barry. And from there, it just kept moving and moving. I didn't want to stop. The more I spent in mental health, the more working with clients, understanding and developing, I couldn't stop, and still can't, and still refuse to stop. So we developed, and I decided one of the things that I kept hearing commonly across everything was we may need to refer people on. We may need to look at getting what we hear a lot is a multidisciplinary team on board in order to help people. For me, it was no one-stop shop. We'll do everything. So moving from a counselling service to a mental health service was a big deal for me. We went and found James, and we went and found Katrina, Gemma, everyone who's on the team and helps. My wife, everyone, my family, I've no doubt everyone else who's involved, just to try and really drive and push this forward. Because what matters is that if someone comes to me, comes to James, comes to Katrina, anyone who comes to my team, we can help. Okay, and if we can't, someone in my building can. And that's where I want to be. We're not quite there yet. And we've got lots coming when we get out of lockdown, when all of this passes us, which it will do. We're going to do things called gong baths, which is using sound therapy, Tai Chi. We've got lots of different things coming. We're going to be in talks with play therapists, people like that, so we can start helping the younger generation as well, because at the moment we're obviously limited. But the idea is to just keep pushing. Keep pushing. James, can you hear me yet? Because I'll just keep talking. I can't hear you now, so I don't know what's happened there. Wonderful. I'll keep talking until James fixes the technical issues. You've listened to him enough. So, yeah, my role in BCS, so I'm the director, but also, most importantly, I'm one of the counsellors there. So my approach is I'm an integrative counsellor. There are so many approaches to counselling: CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, psychodynamic, humanistic, so many different ways. And what an integrative therapist does is uses the best tools from them all. And that's the best way to explain it, is to focus on every client is different. Every person that sits opposite me, whether that be online, whether that be in our offices, is different. And having an integrative approach means that I can adapt. I'm the one that adapts to my client. James?
That's really important. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, there we go. So I've gone old school and got the headset on. I feel a bit like a pilot.
Only half hour that took us, James.
We'll get better. Next one will be much faster. 25 minutes next time, no problem. Fab. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for persevering, Toby. It's great to have you here, because I think I was boring everybody with my my waffle. So that's very kind of you, sir. Very kind of you. So you mentioned you're an integrative counsellor.
Yeah.
What is counselling? What would happen in a session with you?
It's a great question, and it's a tough question to answer, because just before we carried on talking, I had said that every client is different. But so that means every session is different. But what the common thread will be, and how I've always considered counselling, is an empathetic relationship. Okay, an area and a space where no matter what's going on, no matter what's happened, we're going to offer you a non-judgmental, empathetic environment for you to talk, discuss, be open. Okay, somewhere where there's no pressure, somewhere where there's no demands. It's just a case of let's talk. And sometimes, and what people worry about a lot of the time is their thoughts are irrational. Their thoughts don't make sense, or they're embarrassed to say about the thoughts they have, when in fact in that room they realise that we all do it. Everyone watching, everyone that has ever been around has had irrational thoughts that don't make sense. So what this does, sorry, the picture's just moved around and threw me. So what counselling gives you is that environment where you can actually be okay with your thoughts and work them out, because that's what your brain wants to do. Your brain wants to make sense of things. So in our room for them 50 minutes.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think that's a really important point to make as well, that, yeah, that it's a non-judgmental space, that, you know, whatever you're thinking, whatever's going on, Toby and Katrina as counsellors, me as a hypnotherapist, we've probably heard it before, but also that it's a safe space. It's, you know, it's confidential, and that we can discuss things there that that you might not talk to your family about, or outside, and, you know, to sort of unpackage that and talk about it. Yeah. Sorry, Toby. What was that saying?
Absolutely. We have core conditions. So a wonderful therapist from many moons ago, Cole Rogers, believes that there was core conditions that someone needed to be given in order to change. You know, we talk about unconditional positive regard, congruence, which is being genuine, and empathy. We give you them. We give you them pillars. We give you that to sit there with and allow you to change. Now, there are other approaches. You know, if we look at cognitive behavioral therapy, we use tools, techniques in a more active role. You think of humanistic and person-centered, where we just listen. The good thing is it's 50 minutes, and it's 50 minutes about you. And that's what matters. 50 minutes about you for whatever you want. And that's really important. Having that time and that moment is important. 50 minutes just for you. And I must say, 50 minutes generally, but at the moment, because we're online and due to COVID-19, we reduced cost and reduced session length, just because having intense conversations and having that time can be a lot in front of a webcam. So we do 40-minute sessions at the moment. But when we get back to the flow, it's 50 minutes of all you. At the moment, 40 minutes.
But that's great. And so how does an online session work then? How do you work online in an effective way?
It's almost the same, except as I can see looking at you, James, I can see your shoulders, I can see your arms and your head and your face and your smile. I'm a little bit less, but it's the same. So we use Zoom, and I heard you briefly talk about Zoom. Zoom's an encrypted service, so it keeps it end-to-end encryption and safe. If you book, you'll get a link, excuse me, from me to join. You join, you come into a waiting room, and then I admit you into the session, and then I'm sat here. The background and the environment is a little bit different because I've had to come downstairs and use a different computer, but essentially it's the same. And we talk. Again, it's your time, it's about you. Yes, there's technical issues sometimes and connection issues. We have contingencies for them. There is always an answer. Today was slightly different because I really wanted my face on the screen. But essentially, it was about, if something goes wrong, we have an answer. And James, you're breaking up a little bit now, so I'm hoping it kicks back in. So there is obviously a difference between online counselling and face-to-face counselling. Okay, it would be amiss of me to ignore that. You know, there is a lack of human contact. There is a lack of being sat in that room. But we do our best as therapists, and I know myself, Katrina, and James,
I think
we do our question. What can hypnotherapy do that counselling can't? I've had a few different counsellors, but find it only works short term. Okay, so commonly counselling is very different to hypnotherapy. Okay, they're two very different approaches, and both very valid approaches, and they have their strengths and they have their weaknesses. Me and James could end up talking or debating for a long time over these, but essentially what I would like to say is counselling's a journey. There's no specific treatment plan where we say, I'm just going to do 5 sessions and it'll end after them 5 sessions and you'll be fantastic. okay, because it's a journey. We start maybe talking about something, and it's underlying bigger problems and bigger things, and it's a really exciting journey, but a journey nevertheless. And if you don't commit, and if you don't follow through and keep pushing and keep pushing, and sometimes if the counsellor doesn't guide you that way, it can result back to having them same feelings again. What I would always recommend is try both. Try both. Some people have huge benefit from hypnotherapy, some from short-term counselling, long-term counselling. There's so many variables, but what I would say is don't give up, because the right counsellor, the right hypnotherapist is there. You know, you don't have to choose one of us. Any one of our team would be happy to help you find someone that suited you. Okay, there's lots of different avenues and places you can look, because it's so important that you have the right counsellor or the right hypnotherapist. No, I think it's gone again. So yeah, so both hypno and counselling, hypnotherapy and counselling, are beautifully valid and effective tools for lots of different things. And I think a lot of it's down to the individual. So yeah, definitely give it a try. And I know when James comes back, he'll talk more about it, but we're going to be doing group relaxations and group taster sessions and things for people to come along and try. Obviously, we have to wait for social distancing and things to subside in order to do that safely. So once that's done, keep an eye on the page, keep communicating with us, because you'll see these opportunities. And for those who may not have seen it, James done a wonderful online relaxation taster. It's on our YouTube channel, BCS Mental Health Services. Just go along, find yourself a comfortable position, sit back and relax, and see how it sounds and see how it feels. My best. But one of the questions that he does mention is why Barry? And I think that's a really great question. I love Barry. I moved, I'm not Welsh, as most of you will know. I moved from Kent to Swansea Valley about 12, 15 years ago. And yeah, it was nice. I love Wales. It was a different way of life. But when I come to Barry, when my mum opened a shop on the high street years ago, I loved it. I fell in love with it. It's always 30 degrees in the shade every day, despite what anyone says. But it is a wonderful place with wonderful people, and it works. And people have taken to it and accepted us and said to us, absolutely, we need this. We want this. Let's do it. So that's why Barry. It's quite simple. It's just a wonderful place full of wonderful people. So those who don't know where we are, so we're on Holton Road, number 161 Holton Road. We are above a wonderful business called Inspired Learners. They're fantastic. And we've had offices in Barry for quite a long time. When I first started, I used to use community centres and local rooms to do my sessions, and also home visits, which we still do. So if you find that you can't come to the office or don't feel ready or able to come and sit with someone, then we can come to you. We can come and sit in your environment and talk about things with you, which is wonderful that we do that. And it's something that I will always do. It's something that I think's just fantastic, that we're able to offer that. So as much as I love our offices, and I really do, they're beautiful, I do like getting out and about, and I do like meeting people. So if you want to get in touch, you can email us at contact@bcscounselling.com, or you can call. At the moment, we're using a mobile number just because no one's at the office. So it's 07483 130 449, and you'll come through directly to me. And it doesn't mean you have to see me. If you want to speak to Katrina or James, then I can sort that out and get that passed on. So we charge, so currently, due to COVID-19, we charge £25 for a session. Okay, so that's reduced basically because the session's been reduced, the length's been reduced, and the environment that's happening. But once we return, we charge £35 for a 50-minute session. Hypnotherapy is the same, so hypnotherapy will always be in line with what we deliver. Okay, and yes, there are free services out there, and it's really worth mentioning this at the moment, because yes, we charge, we do charge, and that's because there's a need, and it's important that we do. There are some wonderful free services, the NHS, second to none. Yes, the waiting lists are long, but it's because it's needed. It's definitely needed. But the important thing is, if you don't want to use them services, or them services are full, or the waiting lists are too long, we're here. We're here. We're not funded. We're self-funded. We run the project as us and what we make and bring in and function. So it's important that, you know, we have to charge. And, you know, I will always support. So we've recently, in very early stages, started working with Age Connect Cardiff and the Vale, offering very low cost counselling to their clients and volunteers. We've taken a significant proportion out of that fee, really low fee, and putting it back into Age Connects as a donation. So we try, and we're really trying to help the community as much as we can. So when we're talking about people who think that it's going to cost so much, you'll be surprised. We had something called the domino effect. Okay, so we start dealing with something that's really, really niggling and really struggling. So let's talk about an extreme case of social anxiety or social phobia, where potentially someone can't leave the house. If we can deal with the really big issues, as that falls, the little ones fall. Okay, with the ripple effect. Okay, so although sometimes we can feel that our head is so overwhelmed and full and busy and there's so much happening, just talking, just getting something sorted helps, because we give you tools and techniques that translate across lots of different ways and lots of different issues. So although sometimes it can feel that you need a lot, that's not always the case. I think James is back. Please tell me James is back. So you've met me, James. I know James has mentioned Gemma and Katrina. Now Gemma's wonderful. She is our practice manager and she leads the Age Connect process as well. So that charity initiative of ours that is wonderful. I'd love to talk more about it, but it's still developing. We went live only a few days ago. If you do seek support from Age Connect, absolutely wonderful charity. Get in contact with them on their website, Age Connect Cardiff and thevale.org.uk. I think Gemma will put a link in. She's the lady behind the camera doing all of the links that you can see and the communication. That's why we love her. But Katrina is one of the most experienced and incredible therapists that exist on this planet. I think she's been doing it about 22 years, and I think I'm being kind. And she's
amazing considering she only looks 21.
Yes, James. Yes, thank you, James. But you won't ever see her on a live because she's better in the counselling chair than on the camera. But she's there to answer questions. So if you have a specific question for Katrina, ask away. She's available and she's there. We'll also, after this, put all of our phone numbers and email addresses up if you want to talk to us directly. But yeah, I think unless you guys have questions, I know Lisa's been really great. Thank you, Lisa. It's been incredible. Your engagement has been wonderful. You've kept us busy, which we needed.
That's good. Fab. So if not, we will schedule another one of these when hopefully me and Toby can have a bit more of an in-depth chat together rather than at different times. And if you have any questions in the meantime, as Toby quite rightly said, do give us a ring, send us an email, send us a message on Facebook, whatever is easiest for you, and we'll be back in touch with you. And then online, or when we're back out in the office again, pop down and see us down there. And we look forward to hearing from you and to working with you soon.